Welcome back to BNC Live. The IRS is saying the upcoming tax season could be filled with enormous challenges. That means your refund may take a bit longer to get to you. Jen Sullivan has a closer look at what's causing the backlog and what you can do to prevent any issues with your tax return.
A warning from the IRS. This tax season is going to be messy. The Treasury Department says pandemic-related issues and budget constraints may lead to a delayed tax refund. And tax professionals are bracing for any potential issues.
I anticipate this tax season to be extremely busy, not only for the tax preparers, but also for the taxpayers as well.
The IRS blaming staff shortages for creating a nightmare scenario, saying it might have 1 million returns backlogged. But the number this year is several times worse.
We're working as hard as we can.
The IRS also saying it needs more money. It's an issue the agency's commissioner raised before Congress at a hearing last year, saying while the tax code has grown more complicated, the funding has stayed the same. And call centers can't keep up. The IRS says it was unable to answer 2/3 of the calls it received last year. And processing centers for paper tax returns were closed for much of the pandemic. All this adds to an already complicated tax filing year with COVID relief and increased child tax credits.
They sent out half of it in 2021, which has to be reconciled on the 2021 tax return. So that's going to create a lot of chaos.
So what does this mean for you? Tax experts recommend you file early. The IRS begins taking returns on January 24th. And file electronically. Experts say that filing paper forms is going to add time.
Here to give us some answers about what we can expect this tax season and how to get our money on time, we got David Peters. He's a financial advisor and also tax practitioner. Thank you, David, for joining us. So based on what you know, how bad is the situation at the IRS? I mean, are we looking at a delay like the one we had last year? Or worse?
Well, I think that things are going to be a little bit better than last year, but I do think that there's going to be a delay. I mean, they are very behind in processing returns. As of December 23rd, they still had about 6 million unprocessed returns from the previous year. So there's still a big backlog. I think that you will see some delays in refunds.
All right, well, with that being said, delays in refunds, so you are advising us to file early. The IRS is accepting returns as early as January 24th, but preparers, right, could encounter issues, according to you, David. Tell us why.
Well, so the earliest that anyone can file their return is going to be January 24th, just like you said. And filing early is generally a good idea. If you file early, you're on the front end of filing season. And generally speaking, the IRS is going to process your return faster. However, the part that we got to watch out for is that you got to make sure that you have all your forms before you actually file your return. If you file a return that doesn't reflect maybe a W-2 or maybe a 1099 or something like that, well, then you're either going to get a letter from the IRS or you're going to have to amend your return, and amendments take much longer to process. The current time for processing an amended return is about 16 to 20 weeks. So it takes much longer if you end up having to amend. So the best advice is you only want to file once. You want to make sure that that it's accurate, that it has everything reflected in that return itself. File electronically and do it as quickly as you can.
All right, so I want to also ask you about how much faster do refunds arrive if you do it electronically? Is it better to mail in your documents? Which one do you prefer?
No. Well, so electronic filing is definitely the way to go. I mean, your processing time on average in a normal year for electronic filing is usually about 3 or 4 weeks. Again, assuming that the return is accurate, assuming that you have all the information reflected. If you file a paper return, then that lengthens out considerably, and that refund time on average in a normal year becomes 8 to 12 weeks. So filing electronically is definitely the way to go. You don't want to mail things in if you don't have to. Not to mention too that there's some headaches that we've had, especially in the last in the last couple of years with the mail system. So definitely better to file electronically, and that's one way that you can get the processing time down and potentially get your money a little bit faster.
All right, David, what about avoiding fraud? I mean, that was a big thing last year, right? With those little cards and folks not realizing that's what their money was on and throwing it out. And I mean, the list goes on and on.
Fraud is a big issue. It continues to be a big issue. One of the things that you can do is filing early will also help curtail some of that fraud. That's one way to help out with that. The other thing that you can do is that the IRS is offering a program where you can go out and you can apply on the IRS website and get a 6-digit PIN that is unique to you. That will allow you to basically prevent somebody else from filing a return under your Social Security number. So that's a newer program that is out. It used to be that if they had problems with fraud before in the past, that they would send you a 6-digit PIN. Now what you can do is you can proactively go out and get a 6-digit PIN from the IRS that is unique to you, so that they know when you file your return that that is indeed you, because it's got the 6-digit PIN that is unique to you that they've assigned you. The only thing to remember about that, though, is if you do that, you got to make sure that you give that to the practitioner, because otherwise they're not going to know.
All right, David, I got to squeeze this last question in with you. We've lost over 800,000 Americans to COVID. For folks that have passed away, I guess it would be their caregiver or the person responsible for handling their affairs, should they file a tax return for that deceased person?
Yeah, so if somebody passed away during 2021, there is generally going to be two different filing obligations that are out there. The first one would be is that you would need to file a final income tax return, so a Form 1040. You may also have to file an estate tax return as well. So if somebody maybe passed in July of 2021, then the first 7 months of the year would be covered by their normal individual income tax return, and then the last 5 months of the year would be covered by an estate return. So there might be up to 2 filing obligations if somebody passed in 2021.
All right, very useful information. David, thanks for stopping by, chatting with us. We always appreciate your insight. Thank you.